Let's continue the conversation with Republican strategist Liam Donovan and CNN political commentator Karen Finney. Glad to have both of you guys on. And first of all, I gotta tell you, just in reading the things that were purportedly said, it's pretty mind-blowing to think about. And hypocrisy seems to be a part of this conversation, but also he is defiant. He's not stepping down. He says, I never said any of these things. And he has been making, frankly, inflammatory comments for a long time, Liam. This type of calling himself a black Nazi, though, or slavery not good, I see your eyes bugging out because you share the disbelief.
I do. I think, look, if you knew Mark Robinson's name before today, this probably doesn't surprise you. But even those phrases that you said, I mean, this is next level stuff. Look, I think Mark Robinson is an extreme version of something that the Republican Party has had a problem with for more than a decade here, predating Trump, having an affinity of the base for flash-in-the-pan candidates that say transgressive things, and that being something that gives them a boost. The problem is, without a deep base of support like somebody like Trump has, when things get this hot, like, I mean, just saying outlandish things, when you get to a general election, that's not going to sell. And look, even before today, Robinson was pretty much cooked. That was a race they were not going to win.
Interesting.
North Carolina is very good at electing Republican presidents and Democratic governors. It happened when Bush won both times. It happened when Trump won in 2016. The question is, can they get enough of a separation from the ticket to allow Trump to not have to worry about being dragged down?
And that's really, I think, if the trajectory, as you described, is accurate, then really the question is whether it will impact Trump's campaign in North Carolina. And, well, he's been pretty effusive in the past for Robinson. Listen to this.
This is Martin Luther King on steroids. I think you're better than Martin Luther King. I think you are Martin Luther King ×2. One of the great stars of the party, one of the great stars in politics, Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson. I'm a great supporter of his. You're incredible, Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson. This is a hot politician. He's a hot politician. Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson. A real star, great guy, friend of mine, Mark Robinson.
Martin Luther King Jr. ×2. Uh-huh. Okay. When you make sort of hyperbolic statements, there's obviously consequences. Yeah. Inaccurate statements even more so. But can he control the damage here?
You're like, discuss.
I just discuss. Talk amongst yourselves. The topic is this.
So here, a couple things that I will put on the table. Let's also remember that Donald J. Trump has been found liable for sexual assault. Of a woman that, and we've heard other, so there's a level of hypocrisy here in a Republican Party that is supposed to be about family values and valuing people the top of the ticket in the gubernatorial race is someone who would say these things. And even before, like you said, if you didn't know his name because of this today and you'd heard his name previously, it's not like this is the first time he said these horrible things. We really should not be surprised. Clearly, somebody did not do their job in the Oppo research department and the self-research. That's a whole other topic. But I think it's an indication of a Republican Party that is very much lost. Because remember in 2022, when a number of MAGA candidates made their way through the primaries and really were an embarrassment to the Republican Party. And it was, there's this question, is Trump going to be a drag on them or are they going to be a drag on Trump? And I don't know if we know the answer to that, because here's the thing, Liam's exactly right. The Harris campaign is going to tie Donald Trump to this candidate over and over and over again over the next 47 days. This is his guy, right? Yeah. And that's his judgment. It's a judgment question as well. But I think the bigger question for the Republican Party is, when is it going to stop? When are moderates in the party, true conservatives in the party going to stand up and say, enough? We're not going to keep nominating people who are saying these crazy, racist, sexist, misogynist, dangerous things. When does that happen? And when do the people who are in the middle stand up? Because the people who didn't vote in that Republican primary, that's on you. That's your guy. You made that happen.
So when you look at this, Liam, and to Karen's point about the red lines that are drawn or maybe not drawn. I mean, just if you put back on the screen those lists of controversial endorsements of Trump in the past, I mean, every one you can sort of point to a story that campaign strategists must be pulling their hair out when there's an association. And this is a town like Washington, D.C., when everyone is ready to take a 10-foot pole and extend it anytime you sneeze incorrectly. They don't want to be tied to anything bad. Why do you think the Trump strategy, though, is to be dismissive of the criticism of these people?
We'll have to see what happens with the Trump campaign. They've been pretty quiet here right now, and it sounds like they're trying to work behind the scenes to get him out if that's possible. It's like we're really at the 11th hour in terms of getting him off the ballot or however that works with state law. One thing I would note about that cast of characters, that Star Wars bar that you had up on the screen there, on a number of them, those were Trump's picks. Trump put a thumb on the scale. He decided who they'd be. The unique thing, and the tie that I saw on that screen, was Roy Moore. Roy Moore was not a Trump pick. Roy Moore was the pick of the Republican base against Trump's pick. What, to your point, Trump did was, when the chips were down, he backed Roy Moore to the hilt, despite all the things that we know about Roy Moore. So the question is here, does Trump, in his style, as he is wont to do, often kind of double down? In this case, Robinson is so toxic, it doesn't seem wise, and there's really nothing in it for Trump. One thing that I would note, though, I think in terms of the Harris approach here, the shift in Harris's rhetoric from the Biden strategy of casting Trump as this existential authoritarian figure, the twist to these guys are weird, I think that comes into play here because Mark Robinson is nothing if not weird. These comments that you mentioned are nothing if not deeply, deeply weird. The question is, does sitting next to that weirdness make Trump look normal? This is about the only thing that could possibly make Trump look less threatening than someone else. And I think as a foil, actually, that's the one way I would say maybe it doesn't matter that much.
But the connective tissue, really quick on this point, the connective tissue seems to be that he's saying, look, he says artificial intelligence. All these were comments about a decade ago. So it's that. But the idea of saying that a system has been weaponized against him and that it's all false and it's coming from the left and the mainstream media, et cetera, that tactic has been successful, at least to galvanizing the base for Trump. I think Robinson's trying to seize on that.
He probably is. That's exactly what it seems like. And his rhetoric was very Trump-esque on that front. We've seen other Republican candidates try that. It did not work for them the way it works for Trump because they're not Trump. I think that's the problem.
We'll see. Real quick.
It's so obviously him. I mean, look, I think this stuff, the base might get there, but that's not going to get you to 50% in a state like North Carolina. It's just not.
That's right.
Well, we'll see. North Carolina seems to be in play. Who knew? Liam, Karen, stand by.